Cregan Stark from House of the Dragon, explained. HBO's new top show, House of the Dragon, has finally launched all episodes of Season 1. It has many references to the Game of Thrones, but the fans hope to see more Starks. Although the story of this show focuses on the Targaryens, there is one Stark who grabbed the attention of everyone in George R.R. Martin's Fire and Blood for his skill, bravery, and loyalty, Lord Cregan Stark.
First to the Eyrie to see my mother's cousin, the Lady Jane Arryn, and then to Winterfell to treat with Lord Cregan Stark for the support of the North.
In the book, the Dance of the Dragons had come to an end, but Cregan Stark still had to provide justice for the crimes perpetrated in the final days of the battle. All in the name of King Aegon III, as Cregan Stark was the king's hand and had the power to end the turmoil of the previous 3 years of war. In this video, we will learn about Hour of the Wolf and dive deep into who Cregan Stark was. Let's begin. Number 1. The Wolf of the North, Cregan Stark.
Cregan Stark is close to your age than to mine. I would hope that as men, we can find some common interest.
The Old Wolf of the North, Lord Cregan Stark, has an impressive CV. He was the Lord of Winterfell, head of House Stark, and was famously known as the Wolf of the North.
And winter is coming.
He had a long-standing reign while the King's Landing was ruled by Viserys I, Aegon II, Aegon III, and Daeron I Targaryen. He sided with the Blacks during the Dance of the Dragons and later served as the hand of the king for the young King Aegon III. Though he was in the position for a short time, he made significant changes and ended the chaos throughout Westeros. Unsurprisingly, Cregan, like so many Starks, was a close friend of the Night's Watch. His best mate was said to be Lord Cerwyn. Prince Aemon Targaryen stated he had never confronted a finer swordsman than Lord Cregan. House Stark stayed essentially demotivated in royal diplomacy and unapproachable from court matters for more than a century after the Targaryen conquest. Following King Viserys I Targaryen's death in 129 AC, the Blacks of Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen faced off against the Greens of King Aegon II Targaryen. Rhaenyra sent Prince Jace, Prince of Dragonstone, to gather support for her cause. While at Winterfell, Jace and Cregan shared an inseparable bond and signed the Pact of Ice and Fire, according to which, the Starks would defend the Black faction and Jace's eldest daughter would wed Cregan Stark's son. Number 2. Cregan's contribution to the Dance of the Dragons. Cregan Stark has always been loyal to the Blacks, and he keeps his promise much like the Starks we knew from Game of Thrones. When Rhaenyra's ascension was threatened, Cregan Stark ordered Lord of Barrowton, Roderick Dustin, to lead the first army of Northmen and march south. These later came to be known as the Winter Wolves. The Winter Wolves were defeated in the Riverlands by Roddy the Ruin's host, and they were beaten back during the First Battle of Tumbleton. Desmond Manderley, Lord of White Harbour, also dispatched troops by sea to aid Rhaenyra. After the storming of the Dragon Pit, Prince Jace was killed in the Battle of the Gullet, and Queen Rhaenyra escaped King's Landing. In 130 AC, while Rhaenyra was at Duskendale, Cregan posted word from Winterfell that he would assemble 10,000 Northmen for her, though their march south would have to wait until the final harvest before winter. Eventually, Rhaenyra managed to take the Iron Throne, but she had to flee soon because of an uprising. She came back to Dragonstone, but it was now under the command of Aegon II, who had been sent to Dragonstone by Larys Strong for safety. Aegon killed his half-sister and fed her to his dragon Sunfire. Even though King Aegon II was restored to King's Landing to rule, Lord Stark kept his promise to the Blacks and marched south with the Second Northern Host in 131 AC. The Rivermen vanquished Boros Baratheon, Lord of Storm's End, in the Battle of the King's Road while the Northmen remained on the march, and Aegon II was soon assassinated in the capital by those he considered his close confidant, namely Larys Strong, Maester Orwyle, and Corlys Velaryon. The glory of the Stark name echoed through the Seven Kingdoms. They never thirsted for the throne, but they delivered justice. So, why was Aegon murdered? And what happened when Cregan Stark came to King's Landing. Number 3, The Hour of the Wolf and Cregan's Justice. The Northmen outnumbered the Rivermen when they arrived at King's Landing, and the lads were intimidated by the formidable Cregan Stark. The battles and the travel through the King's Road took a toll on Cregan's men. However, many of his northerners were childless, homeless, unmarried, or younger sons marching to war to save their families from having to support them during the impending winter when food and supplies would be in short supply. This helped Cregan to continue the march because his men had come prepared to die. Realizing that such a huge army was marching towards King's Landing, people like Larys, Corlys, and Orwyle understood that death and destruction would follow. They asked Aegon to take the Black, but he would not budge and wanted to fight the northern army. However, that could not happen because the men murdered their king using poison, apparently because they wanted to save the realm. Cregan incarcerated many court members for the murder of King Aegon II Targaryen. Despite being Aegon's foe during the dance, Lord Stark raised objections to a monarch being killed by poison rather than in battle. Cregan took a seat in the Red Keep for 6 days during the Hour of the Wolf, with Prince Aegon the Younger, the 11-year-old son of the late Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen, who was imprisoned in Maegor's Holdfast for his own safekeeping. The surviving Green Lords sent messages of their dissatisfaction with the war's continuation, and women at court also urged peace. Lord Stark begrudgingly agreed to refrain from marching on the Green Castles, but he kept insisting that the murderers of Aegon the Elder be held accountable, as it would show that justice prevails in King's Landing. Lord Stark was appointed Hand of the King by Prince Aegon the Younger to serve justice. Cregan, ruling from the foot of the Iron Throne, freed Septon Eustace but imprisoned Grand Maester Orwyle and Ser Giles Belgrave of the King's Guard. Cregan also denounced Corlys Velaryon, Lord of the Tides, who claimed to have acted in the best interests of the Seven Kingdoms, as well as Larys Strong, Lord of Harrenhal, who refused to defend himself. Nevertheless, Baela and her sister Rhaena persuaded King Aegon to spare Corlys, and Cregan agreed. But Larys Strong's head ended up beautifying a spike. Cregan finally agreed to individually decapitate the convicted with Ice House Stark's ancestral Valyrian steel sword. When Lord Stark allowed Ser Perkin the Flea to join the Night's Watch, the majority of the other condemned were spared their lives by requesting to wear the black as well. Cregan executed only Giles and Larys before resigning as Hand the following day. Number 4, Aftermath. Cregan began his journey back to the north within a couple of weeks of Aegon the Younger's coronation as King Aegon III Targaryen, having turned down a chance to serve in Aegon III's regency. Many of the Northmen who had paraded with him to King's Landing stayed in the south, marrying Riverland's women at widow fairs or serving as guards and men-at-arms. After a few weeks, lords and ladies from all of Westeros came to attend the wedding of King Aegon. It was also the eve of his coronation, and he was proclaimed Aegon of House Targaryen, the third of his name, King of Andals, the Rhoynar, and the first men and lord of the kingdoms, finally putting an end to 9 years of chaos and bloodshed. Cregan Stark will truly serve as one of the most lovable characters in the entire show, and irrespective of how the show proceeds in the years to come, Cregan Stark will be a mighty good man, strong as Jon, wise as Arya, and honorable as Ned. That was all for this video. Do hang around for more film and pop culture content. Do you agree that Henry Cavill should play Cregan Stark? Let me know in the comments.